It's a little bittersweet adding your final pages to a journal that you've used over the course of a whole year. This reading journal and I have had some adventures in 2025, but I haven't yet added all of the information about the books I read in December, so let's do that together. I also want to add some extra things to my 2026 reading journal to make sure it's all set up and ready for my tracking for the year and for January too. Hi, it's Erin, and I hope you had a wonderful New Year's celebration if you celebrated, or a very relaxing time if you didn't. This notebook and I have been through some things together. It started falling apart on me mid-year. The washi tape down the center there is part of my fixing job where I tried to bind it back together myself. It has held up pretty well, but to start with, let's just finish off my list of books read in the year of 2025. And I'm using my little sailor fountain pen here. I only got this one fairly recently. It's the Pro Gear Slim Shikiori Dragon Palace with the medium fine nib, and it is so lovely. And I've paired it up with the Ferris Wheel Press Hampton Harbour Sage ink, which is a really nice match to the barrel of the pen, but also worked really well with my December theme in my everyday journal, so that was a nice little win-win. I realise it is a little tricky to read on screen though. I can read this in real life pretty easily, so sorry if that is frustrating you a little there. It's definitely not as much contrast to some of the inks I've used in previous months. As always, I will link to as many of the items in this video that I'm using as I possibly can down in the video description in case you want to get your hands on anything that you fall in love with. I also wanted to mention when we get up to the talking about the books, kind of the book review section of the video, I will never give you spoilers in the voiceover, so you don't have to worry about that, but I do recommend that you don't read what I write on the pages about the books if you haven't read them and don't want spoilers, because there will be some in those reviews. It is so satisfying that there was exactly the right amount of space for the number of books that I read in 2025. That's very, very nice. And I'm also so happy with how my Page Majors book club spread looks all filled in like this too. If you're keen to get in on the action and join my book club, there is a QR code on the screen right now, or you can hit the join link down below and find out more about how it all works. Members sign up through the channel membership program here on YouTube, but we do all of our book discussion over in my private Discord server that's only available to my Jubilant Journals and Page Majors level channel members. So there is still plenty of time for you to get involved if you want to join us for our January book. We read one book every month and we have a really good time doing it. I'll tell you more about the January book later on though. There will be a full flip through of this journal coming soon too, so stay tuned for that if you want to see how everything looks all together. But for now, I'm just crossing off a book that was on my maybe next list, which is what I call my to be read, because I don't like the term to be read, and I had some updates to make to my book bingo as well, going back a couple of months even, things that I've forgotten. I plan to come back to this tracker and fill it out, but we won't do that in this video, so stay tuned for the flip through. We'll do it together in that one. And on my on hold page here, I have The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. I have decided not to continue this book, so I'm going to add it to my did not finish page as well. This one was chosen for me in a book subscription service that I've been trying out, and when I say I gave this book a really good shot, it doesn't seem like it when I say I only got up to 17%, but this book is so long. 17% was approximately 7 hours worth of the audiobook, so I really did give it a chance. I did, however, finish one of the other books on my on hold list, so I'll update that, and we're going to flip forward to my December tracking pages and bring my December reading tracking dashboard up to date, because it is well behind at this point. On the left page, I like to have the book covers and the star ratings for all of the books that I read in the month, and on the right page, I like to have this reading progress calendar. So that really just shows me the start and end dates of books. I don't track like I didn't read on this day, so I leave a break or anything like that. It's just a continuous line, but it shows me trends in my reading, and I think it just looks really cool when it's all filled in, so I like to bring it with me into every month. I didn't trust the fountain pen to write directly over potentially still wet Tombow lines though, so rather than the Sailor, I'm using the Tom Studio Lumos with one of the fine tips on it. I think this is the 0.3, maybe? It could be the 0.5, I'm not sure. I have it inked with the standard black Tom Studio ink that just comes with the pen, and that seems to write really nicely over the top of my Tombow, so it's doing exactly what I need it to. Before we go any further, I have a question for you, and that question is, what was your favourite book that you read in December? I'm always so keen to hear about recent discoveries, whether they are festive books, maybe they are just books that you came across, maybe you aren't really into festive books. I want to know regardless. I actually ended up with 2 books that were equally rated for my highest rated for December, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Now we need to add some book covers to the left side, and when I make my book covers for my reading journal, I tend to do a whole batch at a time. I have a video about how I make them in case you're interested in checking that out. Essentially, I print them on sticker paper and then cut them out with my Cricut as kiss cut stickers. But the way that process works, if I only had 1 or 2 book covers to print, I'd end up wasting an entire sheet of sticker paper that was left blank otherwise, so I tend to wait until I have a batch to do all at once. We'll come back to the reading stats page later on once we've done all of the book reviews, but for now I want to get to talking about the books. This first one I actually started in November, but I didn't finish it until December, so that's where it falls within the journal. This one is Swept Away by Beth O'Leary, and Beth O'Leary is one of my absolute must-read go-to authors. Anytime something new of hers comes out, it's immediately on my radar, but it took me a minute to get to this one. It's been out for a little while. I've been deliberately seeking out books that feel a little bit more summery because that is the season that I'm in right now as a Southern Hemisphere dweller, and I feel like this book really fits that bill because of its storyline. So this is a contemporary romance, and it's told from dual points of view. You have Ezekiel, who is a young man who is getting his life together, and then we have Lexi, who is in her early 30s, but she's spent most of her 20s helping her best friend raise a baby that her best friend conceived through a one-night stand. Zeke and Lexi hit it off very quickly, and Lexi thinks, what the heck, I didn't spend my 20s being youthful, so I'm gonna do something reckless, and they spend the night together on Zeke's houseboat. But they were both so wrapped up in the moment that neither of them noticed that the boat wasn't properly tied to anything, and when they wake up in the morning, they are stranded at sea. This is one of my favorite things about all of Beth O'Leary's stories, is that they aren't cookie cutter at all. They will take the contemporary romance models and apply them to really unexpected situations. So if you're familiar with another of her stories, The Flat Share, the two main characters share an apartment, a flat, but they don't ever actually see each other because they operate in separate shifts, so one's always there at night, one's always there through the daytime. But I think with the concept of Swept Away, she's really outdone herself. It was such an interesting place to find these people who are just getting to know each other. I did this one on audiobook, and I felt like the delivery was pretty good. It wasn't one of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to, but it certainly wasn't one of the worst either. Particularly the male main character, I found his narrator to be quite monotonous, but forgivable. It's, I still got pretty into it. I really enjoyed that the stakes here are much higher than your typical rom-com. Like, of course, it's terrible for people to break up, and that's a lot of tension as it is in a book, but to be stranded at sea and potentially lose your lives because you run out of food or something like that really kicks it up a notch, There's also a really big twist in this book that hits around about the 70% mark that I did not see coming at all. To be fair, it is very rare that I see the twist coming in a book. I kind of just float along for the ride and get surprised by things, which is a nice way to be sometimes. I don't have a huge amount of oceanic themed stationery, so I've used some scrapbooking paper that looks vaguely watery. It could also be a galaxy thing, it depends on your interpretation, I guess. And I added a couple of stickers down in the bottom right corner from Paper Monogatari's Tropical Getaway collection. I tried to match the orangey yellow of the Tombow to the colours in the book cover, and also because there's no green in the book cover, rather than using my Sailor fountain pen, I'm using this one from Hand Turn Pens. This one is a medium nib, and I have Waringall's Jane Eyre in there, which is a purpley kind of shade, so it matches much more nicely with the book cover. Let's flip back to my dashboard here and add my rating. I gave this one 4.2 stars, which is actually, I'm rounding up to 4.25 because that's just easier to colour in. And Swept Away was indeed one of those 2 highest rated books of the month for me, so well worth the read in my opinion. We're about to get a visit from my cat Mitsu, who loves to jump up on the desk and see what's going on. My apologies, I didn't realize I hadn't flipped my camera over to a focus mode that wouldn't kind of hunt for the focus. Usually I flick it so that it just stays on the page, and that means you're going to get some cat focus pulling at some points and my hands will be blurry. Sorry about that. I am using these acrylic markers that I got from Journal Say to match with the book cover for this one. The book we're talking about here is Evenings and Weekends by Oisín McKenna. While ever the focus is going really wonky here, I'm just going to speed it up a whole lot so you don't have to deal with it for too long. This was also a book recommended for me by the book subscription service that I've been trying out. Stay tuned for a video in the coming weeks. I almost didn't do a decorated page for this book because I just didn't really feel like I had a lot of stationery that fit with it. It's not something I probably would have picked up for myself. And if I'm being totally honest, I didn't have the best time with it. It wasn't a terrible read for me or anything, but it isn't something that I'd want to go back to, and it doesn't make me want to read more from this author. It is set in London though, and I had a few little strips of washi tape from my friend Judy of some bridges in London, so that was kind of the best I could do as far as decoration here. This is one of those ensemble cast, lots of different stories following individuals, but their lives intermingle in some way. Kind of a Love Actually sort of a vibe, if you follow what I mean there with the storyline. But as far as the characters themselves and the things they get up to, it's maybe a little bit more Love Actually meets human traffic. Wow, what a combo. This book is really complicated. It has a lot of wonderful representation of the queer community, which I think is really great. It has some really interesting representations of people dealing with illnesses like cancer and really grappling with how to break news like that to a loved one. But it also just has people not treating people that they're supposed to love very well, and that is always really a struggle for me. I found this one was maybe a little too gritty for my liking, maybe a little too real. I like a bit more escapism and love and joy and fantasy and fun in my book, so this one was a little too dark for me, even though I wouldn't say that it was a really dark book. Just wasn't really my area, I guess. I've given this one 2.9 on my Peach rating scale, which I have a video about in case you were wondering what the heck is this rating scale that you're using here, Erin. I came up with it myself. And you can also download printable versions of my Peach rating stickers for free if you sign up to my Substack newsletter, if you like, although I haven't published anything on it for a while. This next book I read with my eyeballs in a physical copy, can you believe? That is really, really rare for me. It's The Traveling Tea Shop by Belinda Jones, and I've had this one on my shelf for literally a few years. I got it from an op shop, a charity shop, a thrift shop, whatever you call that where you are. I thought the cover was so cute, the title was so cute, and it's just been waiting for me for such a long time that I actually didn't manage to read it within the author's lifetime. Belinda Jones has passed away in the time since I have obtained this book, which is really sad. I know some of my channel members are big fans of hers, and I know she was a really prolific writer and much beloved, so it's just very sad. This book, however, is not sad at all. It's a really fun time, actually. Not a super recent release. This one came out in 2014, and it's actually so fascinating as a little time capsule of a time that doesn't feel that long ago to me, but clearly a lot has changed because the main character of this story is a travel blogger. Not a lot of travel blogging going on at the time I'm making this video in early 2026, and it was so fascinating to transport myself back to this time when we were a little bit less social media addicted. It was very wholesome. This is a light-hearted book, and I loved it for that because I've kind of been looking for that a little bit lately. I read a lot of dark stuff over the course of the past year, and I was looking for something a bit more uplifting and easy. Our main character, Laurie, as I mentioned, is a travel blogger, and she's also a bit of a foodie, and she has been commissioned to plan and somewhat execute a New England baking tour for a famous British baking celebrity. I think the end goal is a book, maybe, where this baking celebrity will go to all of these famous places in New England and learn about their signature baked goods and exchange them with something traditional that is in the same vein from the UK. But things get a bit more complicated when this celebrity baker brings her really cantankerous daughter and her very meddlesome mum along with her on this tour. And poor Laurie has to mediate and keep the peace everywhere. There is also a romance storyline in this one, but it doesn't kick off until quite far into the book, which is a little frustrating for me as a lover of romance. I assumed from the cover that it would be something that would feature, but I thought we might get a little bit more of it. I would have loved a little bit more of it. I've used some of the striped washi tape that I also used in my December theme for the top and bottom of this page, and I very handily still had a few little stickers kicking around from a set the washi tape shop did a few years ago that I don't think they offer anymore. I think it was called Tea Temptations. That's the one on the left and the one on the right, and all the teapots in the middle are from a sticker sheet from Sticky that I think was from last year's advent calendars. I can't remember. I don't think they have that one in stock anymore, but if you just search tea on Sticky's website, they still have plenty of other wonderful options, so don't rule them out. I had actually decanted all of those stickers into a reusable sticker book, so this one I kind of shopped my stash for. And that feels really appropriate for a paperback book that I bought at a charity shop too, in a way, to have used up some little dregs that were kicking around from things that I'd used long ago. That just felt very full circle. I won't be keeping my paperback though. I'll pass it on to a community library and let somebody else read it after me. I've given the Traveling Tea Shop 3.8 out of 5, so that's rounding down to 3.75 stars. I did really enjoy it, but it did feel a little cringy to me at times. Our female main character makes some really questionable choices, and I struggled a bit being like, why are you doing this? Why? I'm actually going to skip this blank page opposite the Traveling Tea Shop. We'll come back to that one in a little bit because I need a full spread for this next book because it's actually 5 short stories in a single book. This was also my only festive read for 2025. I just was not feeling the Christmas vibes this year for some reason. I don't know what to tell you. This is the only one I did, and it did not help get me in the Christmas spirit, unfortunately. This is Under the Mistletoe by 5 different authors, all romance authors. I was only familiar with 2 of them before reading this, and one of them I had started a book from and DNF'd, so I don't know if the hit rate was gonna ever be that good. But one of them is Ali Hazelwood, and I do really enjoy her stuff, and I did really enjoy her short story in this one, not so much the rest. I'm adding the title at the top of the spread with my paint markers, and I'm going to have little mini reviews for each of the 5 books on the page underneath this, so that's why I needed a full spread to make this one fit. And I have done something similar to this before. I read a few years ago The Impossible Meet Cute, I think it was called. This is a thing they do. It's an Audible Originals like mini compendium of short stories thing. The Impossible Meet Cute was the Valentine's edition. I think there's a Halloween one that I haven't got to yet, and this is the Christmas one. I find this kind of thing really hard to rate with stars outside of just giving it a rating based on the vibe, so I probably shouldn't have put that peach rating sticker down there, but I did, so it's committed to the page now. I just didn't really think it through. And we will decorate the rest of the spread somewhat to match the book cover, which is light blue with some bold pink text. I don't have a huge amount of like really bright pink stuff, so I'm working with what pinks I have and some kind of icy blue colors as well. If the book cover looks a little bit off to you, that's because I edited it myself. I don't like the square book covers that you get with audiobooks usually, so I actually just dropped it into Canva and messed around with it a little bit and edited it into what I have put on the page. I'm also going to add some extra stickers that came with last year's, well, actually 2024's now, Hubman and Chubgirl advent calendar that are like Christmas lights and candy canes and that kind of thing, because where else am I going to use them? I've got to wait another year otherwise, so they're going down here. I probably didn't need to add the title and author for each of the books within the space for the review, but some of them I didn't really have that much to say about, so I didn't mind taking up some extra space. Mitsu also likes to take up some extra space, but he is very fluffy and sweet, so I'm into it. I do also have another cat, the Peaches, that the Peach rating system is named after. She's just not that interested in getting on my desk. Sometimes people ask why she's not in the videos as much as Mitsu jumping up there, but it's just because he does it more, so she's usually quite content to snooze on the ground. I also added those blue lines there so I could add the information about format and dates read, but I forgot to fill them out, so that is something I will do off camera. Now, about these short stories. The first one is Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. She writes an incredible short story. I'm pretty sure that spice was included in the brief for these books, that everyone had to include some descriptive spice, so know that going in if that's not something that you're into. I feel like I need to give you really short reviews here. So for that one, I'm just going to say forced proximity, friends to lovers, lots of pining. I guess I'm just giving you the tropes as well as a rating, and my rating for that one was 4 out of 5. Very good. Tessa Bailey's Merry Ever After, though, absolutely the worst of the set for me. I did not enjoy this one bit. Small town cowboy romance, insta love, I guess. Kind of insta lust, really, maybe. 2 stars. All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. This is a new author to me, and this one I thought was actually pretty cute. The storyline is somewhat bizarre. College professors driving a hot dog van to make extra money in the holidays. It was very strange, but executed well enough. I still gave it 3.5 stars. Merriment and Mayhem by Alexandria Bellafleur. This one was okay. The female main character keeps getting herself into situations precarious enough that emergency services have to be called and a firefighter repeatedly comes to rescue her. This girl continually makes terrible life decisions and she's quite frustrating, but also the story was quite cute, so I gave it 3 stars, and that made me realize I wanted to give an extra half star to the previous one. And the last one is Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Daria. This one started out so cute, but it really lost me with some extremely strange, seemingly intrusive thoughts that the female main character has in intimate scenes that were just so unnecessary and completely pulled me out of the story, but it was really adorable otherwise. I've actually ended up adding all of my star ratings together and kind of averaging them out, and I ended up with 3.25 stars for this one, so kind of okay, but I don't know that I would super recommend it. I think there are way better festive books that you could be reading, and if you love a short story, maybe just read the Ali Hazelwood one and don't worry so much about the rest. Going back to that page we left blank, this is the 5th and final book that I completed in December, and this was also our Page Majors book club read for the month of December. Thank you so much to Bhavna for suggesting this one. I think it was a really good choice for some really good discussion because we had our little chat about it just this morning at the time that I'm recording this. This book is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie, and it's based on Korean mythology, which is a new area for me. I am somewhat familiar with some Korean mythology from my days as a K-drama and K-pop girly, but the story of this one was unfamiliar to me. In the society that our main character Mina lives in, every year they sacrifice a girl to the sea god in order to try to stop the storms and terrible things happening to their town, but it doesn't seem to be working. And this year, Shimcheong, if you know the tale, you know, is the girl who is to be sacrificed, but she is also the beloved of Mina's brother, and so she sacrifices herself. That is not a spoiler, that happens very, very early in the book, and takes her place as the sea god's bride instead. Mina finds herself thrown into the spirit realm where everything is not quite as she expected. This story deals with fate and with sacrifice. It does some really cool things in the spirit realm with the Confucian side of Korean society and the way that elders and ancestors are revered. And it does sort of feel like watching a dreamy Studio Ghibli movie or watching a K-drama a little bit too, which is a really fun thing for me. The sea god has a dragon kind of protector, and I had this sticker that is from Ikigai Papir with the girl and the dragon and the red string of fate, which is also a really big theme in the story, and I just thought that was too perfect not to use here. And I also have some stickers that I got, oh man, so long ago, I don't even really remember. Probably Journal Say, but I'm not sure anymore. I think these stickers are very much stylized in a Chinese artwork style, but I went through and found the ones that I felt could kind of cross over and were relevant to the story, and I'm just using like lanterns and things for that. I also didn't have a big book cover already printed for this one, so that's something I needed to do. We'll add that once we have the rest of this page all set up. When we discuss a book for the Page Majors Book Club, I like to come up with some questions so that people can kind of approach the book with those in mind, although I've been a little bit late with coming up with them for the last couple of months. I'm going to try to get back on top of that ASAP. So when I make the page for the book in my journal, I like to add those questions in and just answer them for myself, particularly before the meeting if I can, so that I know what my contribution to the discussion is, because that's always good to know. I think this book is delightful, but something I want to mention. I actually started this one on ebook and I switched to audiobook because I knew I was going to run out of time in December and not get it finished in time for our chat about it. So I switched to audiobook because that's an easier, kind of quicker way for me to consume a book. And I do not necessarily recommend the audiobook narrator for this one. She wasn't bad, but she didn't seem like she was as skilled as some other narrators I've come across. She didn't give you different voices for different characters. It was all just kind of in the one voice, and that made it a bit difficult to follow sometimes. So if this is a book you would like to read in the future, I do urge you to read it with your eyeballs if you can. I'd actually like to go back and read it that way myself, but I still gave it 4.2, which was the same rating as Swept Away, so this is in equal first place for my top book of December. I have gone ahead and made my book cover stickers here, as well as some things that I want to put in my next journal. You'll see those in a second. So first let's go ahead and add the book cover for The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea here. It had a bit of white at the top. I'm just cutting that off to make it fit here because I didn't leave exactly the right amount of space here, and I will have to slide this under my Girl and Dragon sticker a little, but that's okay. And once we have that situated, I have a couple of other book covers to add to my December reads page as well. I wanted to have this one here for the Crimson Petal and the White, even though I didn't finish it. It is represented on the calendar on the facing page, so I wanted it down there as a reference. And I'm currently reading the final book in the Legendborn cycle, which is Oathbound by Tracy Dion, so that one's going on here too, but no star rating because I haven't finished it yet. And that means we can move on to my December reading stats for the very last time in this journal, except we will add some annual reading stats in the flip through video that will be coming soon. In December, I completed 5 books. I read only a total of 256 pages with my eyeballs. I actually had to double check that, and it is correct. It's just what I finished of the Traveling Tea Shop in December because it wasn't the whole book. I had started it in September and then put it on pause, but I listened to 33.6 hours of audiobook, so that's where all my reading happened. On average, it took me 7 days to finish a book because I was a busy little bee and also a tired little bee. I read 100% fiction in December, no non-fiction books, and my top genres were contemporary, romance, LGBTQIA+, young adult, travel, short stories, literary, and fantasy. My average rating for the month was 3.65, and in case you were wondering where I get all of these stats, I track my reading as I'm going with an app called Storygraph. It is free and it is really good and I like it a lot, and it spits out these statistics for me at the end of the month without me having to actually do anything, as long as I just log everything correctly as I go. I am actually colouring in the wrong pie chart here. This was supposed to be my library pie chart. I just spaced out, I guess, but it's okay because I can just flip the stickers around and it will be the correct information then. This is actually quite difficult to track for this one because some of these books, like for instance, I listen to the audiobook for evenings and weekends via my library, but I also have a physical copy that I bought as part of my book box that I'm testing out, so it's really tricky to track this stuff sometimes in that kind of situation, but I'm going with 25% library and 75% bought books for December. And as far as format, I did 20% physical, which is almost unprecedented for me, really not something I do often, and the rest of my books were audiobooks for December. My standout books were of course Swept Away by Beth O'Leary and The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie. After this, we're going to be moving into my new reading journal for 2026, so let's have a little mid-video flip through of everything we've just done for my December reads. I must admit, I'm excited to get out of this journal. As beautiful as its cover is, I do think the cover is absolutely stunning. This book is square 9 by 9 inches, which is an inch bigger in both directions than your typical square journals. I have struggled to fit it in the frame to film videos with it for the past year, especially vertical flip throughs for Instagram and stuff. Almost impossible. And I do still have a handful of pages left over, but I feel okay about leaving these ones behind. I will use them for tip-ins or bookmarks, or if I just need to test out ideas in a really big page for whatever reason, I have them there. But I'm moving into this notebook, and if you haven't seen the initial pages set up for this one already, it has been on my channel for a couple of months already. I also did this cute little nameplate page on a live stream with my channel members in case you want to check that one out. You have to be a member to watch it though. This journal is B5 sized, and I have been looking forward to getting into it ever since I set it up. So now we can finally dive in and start populating some of these beginning of the year tracker pages, and also set up my January spreads for tracking things in January as well. This is my Page Majors Book Club spread for 2026, and the books we read are suggested by the book club members. We vote on them each month over in our Discord server, and these are the first two. So for January, we're reading Empire of Shadows by Jacqueline Benson. That one was suggested by Rachel. And in February, we're reading Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, which was a suggestion from Natalie. Once again, if you want to get in on the action, you can hit the join button down below to find out what the different tiers cost and how it all works. In my new reading journal setup video about this B5 journal, I had a little bit of a whinge about series trackers and how I hadn't really found one that worked well for me yet. I didn't love the way I set them up last year, so this one is a little bit more similar, what I'm going with here finally, after thinking about it for like 3 months. A bit more similar to what I did in 2024, but also still a little bit different, so I'm just popping the name of the series in a green line at the top. adding a little box with the number in it for each of the installments of that series. And so far I don't have any really long ones that I'm tracking here. I was previously tracking like the Ice Planet Barbarian series, but I'm not totally sure I really want to commit to that one and finish it, so I'm not bringing it into this journal. But I am tracking the Dangerous Damsels series and also Love's Academic, both by India Holton. I have read the first 2 Dangerous Damsels stories and the first one of Love's Academic, but I'd like to read all of them. Also, Forging Silver into Stars by Bridget Kemmerer. The 3rd book in that series I think is coming out really soon, but I haven't read the 2nd one yet. I want to go back and read Forging Silver again first because it is the book of hers that got me into all of her writing, and she's been one of my favourite authors of 2025, a new discovery for me. And I've also added the Legendborn cycle, although I am currently reading the 3rd book in that series. I think there is going to be a 4th. It is slated for release in the future, not super soon I don't think, but it's an easy win if I read the 3rd one. I'm reading it right now, so if I finish that one and I can colour in one of my series tracker boxes and it can be completed as far as what is released so far, that's a nice easy win early in the year, so that's always good. I've been keeping track of your book recommendations in the comments on my reading journal videos for basically the entirety of last year, so I'm adding some of the ones that I am most excited about to this list here, and I also put down at the very top And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison, which is probably my most anticipated book of 2026. It's not out yet, it comes out in February, but I'm not including an anticipated reads list this year because I didn't really use it last year, and so this seems like the most logical other place to put it. I already have my maybe next page about a third full, so I'm probably going to be doing overflow onto the facing page for that one. Glad I left it blank. And also this spread I'm really glad I left blank as well because I'm going to be using it for the Year of Goober reading challenge, hosted by Goobers Who Read, which is our lovely Jashi Corinne, Rachel and Monica. They also have a monthly book club system set up that I don't participate in because there are only so many books that I can fit into a month. It has definitely dropped over the course of the past year. The amount that I read in a month has kind of halved, and I'm okay with that, but it just means I can't add another book club book as well as my own. So I'm very excited about A Year of Goober because it is a series of prompts that go over the course of the year. So 1 book a month that you can apply to this challenge. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific book. You can find one that fits the prompt. And so that works a little better for me. There are even 2 prompts for each month, so you can choose the one that you are vibing with more, and they all relate to a baked good because the idea is that in the Year of Goober, the ghosty goober is learning how to bake, and you're going to help him out by reading books that help him learn to bake. I love it when there's a little plot line built into a reading challenge. It just makes it so much more fun. I have discovered since setting this spread up that I actually have a washi tape shop tape that has some ghosts on it from Halloween that I might come back and add to this spread. I didn't think of it at the time, but maybe next month, we'll have to see. I may still forget, but if I remember, I'd love to put some little ghosty goobers down on this page. The bookshelf on the right is where the book covers for the books that I read for the challenge will go. There'll be a nice little one so that they'll all fit on the bookshelf, but I did want to decorate around it so it wasn't kind of just floating in space. And I thought it would be a nice idea to imagine if this is in the garden cafe owned by Ghosty Goober, maybe the bookcase is up against some windows and people can come and take books from it to read in the cafe. There used to be one like that near me and it was awesome. It's not there anymore, sadly, but I thought it would be a good way to tie in the theme. So I'm adding these Leela Journals windows and I'm adding some of these notebook therapy stickers kind of peeking through the window as though that's what you could see outside if you were sitting near this bookshelf. I just thought that would be a cute concept all around. So let's decorate these, get the bookshelf back in place, and then I'll be all set up for a Year of Goober. The Goobers Who Read have a video about the challenge in case you want to look into it further. I'll have that linked down in the description so you can check it out. That's as much as we're going to populate for today of the beginning of the journal tracker stuff, so let's jump into our January spreads now, and I'm going for a bit of a vintage warm-toned music theme. I'm taking this page of sheet music out of an ephemera pack I got recently at a market from Stickers and Stories. There's a little note at the bottom that says Greensleeves, so I assume this is the music for Greensleeves, and I think it might be like a learn to play piano book or something that this has been taken from, because some of the notation has a little number next to it that doesn't make sense to me as a person with a music degree, but I don't play piano, so I figure maybe this is the fingering for piano for somebody who's learning, because the numbers don't appear to go past 5. That's what I'm assuming. It's irrelevant. Anyway, I'm going to be using this paper as ephemera, so I'm going to tear it up and use it for the basis for some waterfall tabs. And I cut it down to size with my beautiful new paper cutter that I got from my Secret Santa from our exchange over in my Discord server. Thank you so much, Dom. I love it. It's the best. I'm pretty much transplanting the setups that I used in the previous journal, the really big square one, straight into the B5 size just to see how that goes, and I will adapt as needed. So for now it's going to be 3 spreads. The first one is going to be the cover spread with the smallest page area because I will cut the most off that one. Then there will be my reading stats, and the third one will be my dashboard, so the reading progress and the book covers. This gorgeous check washi tape is from Paper Monogatari from the Dark Academia collection. I'm layering it next to itself so it really looks like a solid pattern. I wasn't sure how many strips I needed, so I had to go ahead and cut the last of the waterfall tabs in so I could see how much washi tape I needed to really cover that space, and I'm gonna need 1 more row. My reading journals get pretty chunky because I like to put a lot of stuff in them, so I find that by cutting away paper pretty frequently in the journal, it helps to keep things from getting overly chunky. And at the front here on this first waterfall tab, I'm adding another Paper Monogatari washi tape here. This one is also from the Academia set. I haven't stopped to try and work out what the music is on this one, and I wouldn't normally place a washi tape that is very obviously horizontally oriented vertically like this, but I like the contrast of it against the horizontal paper that's going on the right side of the final waterfall tab and also over here on the left side of this page. So I figure that mixes it up a little bit. It gives us a bit of something different. So I wouldn't normally do it, but I'm going to do it this time. I always like to have the left side of my left page at the beginning of the waterfall tabs lined with the same stuff that's on the final one. It just feels like a nice little bookend to me. And then we're going to decorate the center of the spread with some more of all of the above and also some other stuff. And that is going to include the PET tape that inspired this whole theme. It's from the washi tape shop and it's called Rose Sonata. I've had this one in my collection for several months and I hadn't had a chance to use it yet, so I'm glad it's getting a moment to shine here. It has lots of instruments surrounded by florals, and I think that is really lovely and quite unusual. I feel like you don't see a lot of this kind of thing in the stationery world, so it makes me very happy to see as a former music student. These are pretty big stickers, so I think I would have trouble trying to work these into my current everyday journal, which is a traveler size, significantly smaller than this B5, but for the reading journal, no worries, not a problem at all. I feel like we do have quite enough print music down on the spread already though, so I'm going to avoid the little music notes and just keep to the flowers and the instruments. This is a PET tape, so it's plastic, so it's reflective. Sorry about my lights kind of shining off it in some places. It's really tricky to get the right angles when you're working with artificial light to not make that happen, but I'll show you what it looks like without the lights at the very end. As usual, I have gone ahead and DIY'd the header stickers for my entire January setup for all of these trackery pages. I've used a really cute little font called Wildy Sands for these ones, and when you add a capital it gives it a really cute flourish, so I've experimented with that in the middle of words and at the beginning and ends of words, and I really like how that one came together. It felt like the decoration in the middle was a little too suspended and nebulous for my liking, so I grabbed out a craft paper washi tape. I got this one from Muji. I don't think they sell that trio anymore, sadly, but I just added a little of that at the top and bottom because I felt like we needed a slightly different sepia tone, and then we can move on to the next spread. I always like to line the reverse edge of my waterfall tabs too whenever it's possible. Usually I would match it to the tape that you can see on its facing page, but this time I'm mixing things up a little bit. I'm matching it to the tape that's on the other side of the waterfall tab. This one's going to be my January reading stats, and I've gone ahead and made stickers for all of those too, the pie charts and all the headers. So I'm going to add those in first before I get too heavily into decorating, because I don't want to decorate too hard and not leave myself enough room. I haven't worked in this journal size for over a year, so I have a little bit of a learning curve to come back to. I love how this stats page is looking, and we've only got one more left to set up for January, and this is going to be my dashboard. So this is where we'll put the book covers and the calendar to keep track of everything. And because the dimensions of this journal are very different to the one I have been working in, I need to change this up a little bit to make everything fit. I have used a B5 journal for my reading journal before, and it's where I kind of refined this style of setup that I like to do for myself. So I had to sort of think about what I used to do and revert to that somewhat here, because I wasn't going to be able to fit a whole calendar on one spread and all of my book covers on the other as comfortably as I could. I probably could have done it, but it would have been squishy. Definitely not as comfortably as in the 9x9 square. So instead of splitting things into a left page and a right page, instead I'm going to do a top half of the spread and a bottom half of the spread. The top half is going to be the calendar for tracking the reading progress, and down underneath that is going to be where all of the book covers sit for the books that I read in January. And hopefully it works the way it used to. Does the beginning of a new year ever completely mess you up? Because for some reason, when I went to put the initial for each of the days of the week along the top of this calendar, instead of an M for Monday, I wrote a J for January. Don't know what was going on there, but that's okay, because I've got offcuts from my waterfall tabs that I can use to cover up that J, and we can pretend you never even saw it. We definitely need to get some of these PET stickers down on this spread, or it's not going to feel like it works with the rest of them. And I've got a decent amount of space left over here, so I can use some big ones, which is always fun. I do find that I can layer book covers over my stickers if I need to, if I haven't left myself quite enough space. And if I really need to add an extra star rating somewhere, I can do it on some sticker paper and pop that over the top of a sticker as well. So I find that this one is pretty flexible for me. But I am going to leave space down the bottom for my book covers as well. I'm not going to fully cover it in stickers or anything like that, because it also has a purpose. So we want to make sure that there's space for everything to work the way it's supposed to. Since I have batch printed my book covers, I can go ahead and stick some of my book covers down here. I'm actually changing the size of them this year. They were 3.75 centimeters in my previous journal. These ones are 3.5 just to fit a few more in the space. I've got Oathbound, of course, because that's the book I'm reading right now, and Empire of Shadows, because that is our Page Majors book. I've also got Every Summer After ready to go through the library, so hopefully I will get to read that one soon, and Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood as well. And now we can have a flip through the 2026 reading journal and everything that we've done so far from start to finish. Thank you so much for joining me for my December reading adventures. I want to hear about your December reading adventures too, so don't forget to let me know in the comments down below what your favorite read was in December. And if it sounds like a good one, I'm going to harvest it for my maybe next list too. All of the empty pages in this journal are so exciting to me because they're kind of representative of all of the wonderful books I might read this year, and that is a lovely thought. I hope you read some wonderful books in 2026 as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you're keen to keep watching and you don't want to wait for my flip through of my 2025 journal, here is a flip through of my 2024 reading journal instead, and under that is another video YouTube thinks you might enjoy.